Protein, everything the body needs.
You eat when you want, what you want, and how you want.
Protein pizza burrito time.
Dude, I can't explain how grateful I am for this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on here.
Yeah, for sure. It's a huge honor to have you on here as a guest today. You've literally saved hundreds of lives, thousands, I'm sure, including mine, just from reading your tweets every day. So fortunate to come across your profile and found your story so inspiring and fascinating. For those that don't know you, this is Daniel Grimhood. Could you please maybe give some background of where this journey all started with you?
My health and nutrition journey really started in 2018, so quite recently. I had been studying pharmacology and biochemistry since I was like 13 years old, so well over 10 years. And my story started when I had woken up one morning and I entered a grand mal seizure where I was without oxygen for 6 or 7 minutes. My body was totally purple, and the ex-girlfriend that I was with at the time did not think I was going to make it. But I pulled through in the hospital. The seizures continued multiple times a day. I suffered traumatic brain injury, hypoxic traumatic brain injury from being without oxygen for so long. And I essentially experienced a state of early onset dementia, to put it simply. My entire brain and nervous system were extremely damaged. I was very desperate at this time. My neurologist told me that there wasn't very much hope for me. They just put me on Keppra or levetiracetam and Valium to put a stop to the seizures. That wasn't very effective. So I began searching for relief in other ways. In the suicidal state, I had reached out to this biohacking group that I had been a member of on Facebook for several years. And there was just this one random man that had explained a baseline of health in the comments, and he actually had a Hanuman avatar. So, and that had been a recurring theme throughout my entire life was Hanuman. Within a few weeks, I started noticing improvements by starting eliminating all of these different inflammatory food triggers, eliminating all of the drug and medication use. I had tapered myself off of the anti-epileptic medications. I do not recommend that because that can be very dangerous. But I began implementing the megadose magnesium first and foremost, and that it was just a wave of relief. I cried tears of joy because I had felt actually normal for the first time in my life, that the drugs that I was using made me feel. So I began implementing the herbal medicines that put a stop to the seizures. I was able to function again. My memory was slowly restoring. It still took well over a year to get to the point that I'm at now. I was eating a vegan diet, so I was very, very malnourished. And then I came across a bunch of people on Twitter stating that like a ketogenic and carnivore diet may be a benefit for epilepsy.
Right.
So I put aside the ethics, the morals, the emotional conditioning, and I began implementing eggs, seafood, and goat dairy initially before I began implementing red meats. And my life has just it's been benefited exponentially since this point, and it just keeps getting better and better. I haven't experienced any seizures. I haven't experienced any psychotic episodes. I don't experience any drug cravings or compulsions for about 3 years now. yeah, there's just so much more hope available to all of us than we've been led to believe
Right.
by mainstream medical science.
First of all, that's an incredible story. Congratulations on your recovery.
Thank you.
And I mean, like you said, it just keeps getting better, better every day. And you must be like fascinated yourself with
Yes.
with the feeling and everything that you discover in your journey. So awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I'm glad that you touched upon the topic of you coming from a vegan diet and introducing animal foods. Um, I have a bunch of questions for you.
Okay.
And like I said, I know that you continuously do tons of research on this. But coming from the vegan diet or the vegan community, and we see these diet wars every day, and especially in Twitter, it's exhausting.
Yes.
But I try to stray from being so divisive. However, it is true that without proper attention, vegan diet could be very dangerous. And so my question for you is being vegan dangerous?
There's obviously going to be a bias here, but in my opinion, not consuming the essential nutrients for an extended period past the point where your nutritional stores are burned out is going to be detrimental for any human being. So the vegan diet is deficient in a range of nutrients, specifically B12, zinc, vitamin A, preformed vitamin A, retinol. Vitamin D is very low. The glycine can be very low because it's depleted by the glyphosate exposure of both organic and inorganic. The pesticides are being found in many foods today. So there's a lot of these factors can contribute to imbalance or dysregulation of the minerals in the body, the organ systems, the biochemistry, and it can have a very detrimental effect on both the physical, mental, and emotional health. I would say that long term, it is dangerous. Short term, there can be some benefit to it by eliminating a lot of the common inflammatory triggers of the standard American diet. And just like giving your digestive system a break with eat lighter weight foods once in a while can also be a benefit. But long-term veganism, I do believe, is dangerous.
Absolutely. I always like to share that, fixed diets or diets with a label on it are pretty much tools. They're not meant to be, the end all be all
Yes.
diet.
Yes.
And they can be very beneficial if used properly, short periods of time for certain reasons, of course. You're talking about the biochemistry level of food and cellular function. Can't have an episode of Protein Punks without talking about protein.
Of course.
And so let's jump into that. Protein dependency. Everyone goes on and on about protein, talking about building muscle, regenerating cells, but what is actually happening in terms of, why is protein so essential? Carbs, of course, are not essential nutrients, and fat, it's pretty much, very small amount and a certain kind of fat that are essential. Why is protein like king in terms of being essential nutrients at a cellular level?
So protein is metabolized and broken down into amino acids, and there is a range of amino acids. I believe it's 9, if I recall properly, but essential amino acids. There's also inessential amino acids, but the essential amino acids make up the cell wall membranes of every single cell, organ, tissue in the body. And if these are not repleted sufficiently on a daily basis, you can begin experiencing deterioration of the skeletal system, the muscles, the tendons, the nervous system, the brain. The amino acid they make up the cellular basis of essentially everything within the body. And if you're not consuming sufficient amounts in the proper ratios, again, this can create dysfunction and imbalance in these homeostatic conditions within the body.
Synthetic aminos, vitamins, and minerals. Everything the body needs.
I have to let you know, man. Almost every time I look at your tweets, I'm like second guessing my decision of what to eat for the day. I'm just and I'm like to the point, like, you know, even like, because I was like a big fan of oats, and now like I haven't totally avoided them, but I'm be sure to like to purchase, you know, sprouted oats.
Yes.
And I you know, I'm always like, hey, would Grimhood like this? And and yeah, but you know, the reason for that is I think it's just because every time I do follow your advice or suggestions regarding nutrients, I am feeling the benefit. You know, specifically magnesium. Your handle, the Magnesium Pappy, which is Magnesium Pappy Bra. I like
I
it.
had to add the bra part because there's just so many random bra accounts. It's a play on words.
Okay, I got you. I love it. And I follow your Patreon, and the breakdown of you discussing the different forms of magnesium was so helpful. But yes, magnesium chloride has been a huge improvement in my overall life and in my day, in my mood, being able to control patience. I'm noticing a difference. It's definitely awesome. And I'm at the point now where I'm basically treating it like salt. I'll sprinkle it with salt. I'll drink it in my morning cocoa that I usually have, which, by the way, with salt, it tastes very good.
Yes, it does.
Yeah,
it really does.
It's not sweet or anything, but it's like, you know, not everything has to be sweet. So why are you a big advocate of magnesium? What's the deal with that?
So in 2012, there was a study called the Magnesium, I believe. You should be able to find that on PubMed or Google Scholar if you search Magnesium. And it had discovered that there was, rather than just the typical 325 processes that is regurgitated in so many scientific articles and studies, it's well over 3,000. So that's 3,174 processes and enzymes within the body that magnesium is necessary for. That's about 40% of all enzymes in the body. And it is also necessary for magnesium ATP, or adenosine triphosphate development, which is the body's primary form of energy that is used in every single process within the body. So magnesium is essential for optimal health. It keeps the rest of your minerals balanced. It keeps the rest of the minerals usable in the body, such as iron and copper, and calcium, for example. When there's an imbalance between the calcium and magnesium specifically, there is a chronic sympathetic nervous system activation with too much calcium. And there should be at least a 1-to-1 ratio, but I found 1-to-2 calcium to magnesium ratio is most optimal in preventing various diseases, specifically involving calcification, because magnesium is essential for calcium metabolism. So the function of the brain, the nervous system, all of your neurotransmitters are all dependent on these magnesium and calcium cations, cation ions. So having a fine balance between the two is very, very important.
Can you have too much magnesium?
That is something that I have still not found any explanation for. I take well over 15,000 milligrams a day in various forms of magnesium.
Wow.
By mainstream science's standards, I should be dead of kidney failure or calcium dysregulation, but I've never been healthier before in my life. I don't experience any detriment from this amount of magnesium. I believe the RDA, which is arbitrarily set at 400 milligrams, regardless of your weight, activity level, or gender, is just totally wrong. It's harmfully wrong. And the two of the leading magnesium experts in the world, Mildred Seelig, MD, and then Carolyn Dean, PhD, also agree with me. They have set the new RDA guideline to about 5 milligrams of elemental magnesium per pound of body weight, or 10 milligrams per kilogram for the European folks. So yeah, this for magnesium, as an example, magnesium glycinate is about 14% of elemental magnesium. So for a 100 pound person, this would be equivalent to about 5,000 milligrams, 5,000 to 7,000 milligrams total. And this would be best spaced throughout the day, unless you experience a major stressor on the body, like heat stroke, overheating, seizure activity, migraines. That would be a situation where a large amount of magnesium at once would be sufficient, because our demands ramp up when the body experiences stress.
It's only about 28 degrees. We'll check that forecast in just a minute. I feel very mischievous, very weird, Everybody in the Delaware Valley should be up. You agree with me? I mean, it's 3 minutes past 4 in the morning. What else are you gonna do? It's there. Ian, how are you this morning?
Huh?
This is Kramer.
Good. Oh, I think you have a lot better comment to say in the morning. Goodbye.
Man, this is Kramer are up, and it's a good morning. Boy, I tell you, I need something to struggle with. 28 degrees. It's cold out there. Well, we deserve it. We've been getting away with murder for the last couple of weeks. Our high today could possibly be...
I would say that you are probably one of the OGs, well, from what I found anyway, when it comes to slonking. We're gonna have some fun. Slonking, which I take it as just drinking raw eggs.
Yeah.
Lately, I've seen that you've been pushing not to drink the entire egg raw.
Yes.
You want to give us an update on that?
So, I had been drinking the raw eggs, the whole raw eggs, for about 2 years.
Right.
And I began experiencing subtle I began researching more of the individual B vitamins, and I had gotten to biotin, and I wanted to ensure that I was consuming sufficient amounts without any factors that would inhibit its absorption. So I stopped smoking. I started eating more carbohydrates, as the ketogenic diet also can deplete biotin. And then I removed the egg whites, and I started noticing differences in my protein and amino acid metabolism. I started getting more energy from my protein intake. Large protein meals would not put me, they wouldn't make me fatigued. With the biotin deficiency, hyperammonemia is a possibility, which means that the amino acid metabolism at the very end of the cycle is converted into urea and ammonia. When ammonia accumulates to an excess point, it is very neurotoxic, very uncomfortable in the body, and you can begin smelling it in your sweat. My hair, skin, and nails, the common deficiency symptoms with biotin also improved when I removed the egg whites. Yeah, so I've just been consuming the raw egg yolks in addition to my regular cooked eggs on a daily basis. And I still retain the benefits of the raw eggs, but without the avidin. The avidin is the anti-nutrient that inhibits the absorption of biotin. And once it accumulates in the body, it can inhibit its absorption for up to 108 days. So it is it can be an issue with extended consumption of the whole raw eggs. Yeah, the raw egg whites do serve their purpose, but they like you had mentioned, they should be used as a tool in the proper context. So, for example, a proper context would be like gut microbiome dysbiosis, food sensitivities, autoimmunity. Um, the components that make up the raw egg are very similar to what is found in humans. The nutrition, vitamins, minerals, collagens, the albumin. So it helps the body to recognize these things when you consume very small amounts and build your way up, and you're able to resolve food sensitivities, autoimmunity by reestablishing oral tolerance.
Wow.
So it's very fascinating what can
Yeah.
be done with the raw egg.
Well, let's make some history. So you say to remove the egg white, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So the way that I do that is I crack the egg, I split the egg, so I'm holding both ends upright, and then I will gradually tilt until the egg white falls off, and then there's like a little white piece that is attached to the yolk, and I just yank that off. And then the eggshells contain the same composition as your skeletal system and your teeth. So cooking these and grinding them up into a fine powder and consuming that can help to nourish your skeletal system as well.
Dude, I do that and I put in my pancakes.
Oh, that's an excellent idea. That's really excellent.
Of course, most of the nutrients are in the yolk.
Yes.
What's the benefit of having it raw?
So the cholesterol and the fatty acids can become oxidized with heat. So consuming them raw, it provides a raw format of those nutrients. And then some of the B vitamins and other vitamins are also degraded by heat, such as the riboflavin, biotin, and folate. These are very, very important B vitamins for cellular metabolism and essentially the function of the entire body. You'll still largely get a similar benefit if you cook the eggs, but you'll get a higher amount of these specific nutrients with by consuming them raw. So I do best of both worlds.
Well, that's you know what? Let's cheers to that. Best of both worlds.
There we go.
Salute.
There we go.
That's thick.
Where's the goat?
You mentioned goat milk, goat dairy. And in your past tweets, you mentioned the power of goat meat overall. Why is goat the goat?
So for goat dairy specifically, the proteins that are created by the goat biology are more suitable and more easily digestible for the human biology. The goat genome is more similar to the human genome than cow. The fatty acid profile is more balanced in cow rather than 2-to-1 as in cow, omega-6 to omega-3. It's a 1-to-1 ratio for goat milk. The calcium, iron, and copper are at more minimal amounts, so it's less of an issue to consume that dairy liberally for the rest of the vitamins and minerals without accumulation of those detrimental minerals. So, oh, and then the other factor was the goat dairy has the highest inositol content, and inositol is necessary for stem cell development, ATP development, uh, mood and cognitive regulation, cellular hydration. And the list just keeps going on and on. Cellular signaling. It's a very important molecule within the body. The body produces about 2 grams on a daily basis from glucose, but the modern environment and all these modern poisons that we're exposed to on a daily basis can create a deficiency of this inositol because of the cellular repair that it is used in is ramped up because of this the damage that is occurring in the body, as well as it being an antioxidant in every tissue of the body. So when there's oxidative stress, it gets depleted. And then for the goat meat, for a lot of the same thing applies in terms of the minerals. There's a better zinc to copper ratio for the human body. There's a better amino acid profile, so there's a better glycine to methionine ratio. Um, and then in Ayurvedic medicine, it is prescribed to those that are weak and frail. And in the United States today, everyone is essentially in, or they should be, in a state of health recovery. So the goat meat is a very useful tool. Again, everything can be used as a tool in the correct context to really nourish the body and provide that energy back. Yeah, so it's really dependent on what someone can afford. These game meats are going to be a little bit more expensive than the common commercial animals. So if you can afford to, it would be very wise to experiment with the various other meats that are available to us.
Huge dieting hack too.
Yes.
9 times out of 10, wild meat and wild game meat specifically, it's going to be very lean.
Yeah.
So if and yeah, variety of foods. A huge advocate of having a variety of foods. I too used to follow a ketogenic diet for about 2 to 3 years, and by doing so, I'm kind of going off topic here, but by doing so, I was starting to develop fear of carbs.
Yes.
And having this restrictive mindset, thinking carbs was what was getting me sick. That's what was getting me like overweight. And but now, luckily I've totally 180'd that mindset. Use carbs as again a tool, and kind of, I always use the term control and intake of carbohydrates, around exercise, training. And lately I've been using honey before a workout. And I know you're a big advocate of honey. And that's like one of the main sources of carbs that you include in your diet. Yes?
Yeah. I've been including a lot more fruit, specifically kiwis recently, blueberries and grapefruit. I've been including jasmine rice, sweet potatoes, yams, and beets. So I've had a range of. I always stick to the complex carbohydrates. Specifically, I try to avoid simple carbs because of the relationship between insulin and glutamate. I don't want to throw off that balance between the biochemistry that I've worked so hard on remaining functional with. So yeah, I have not experienced any detriment with the complex carbs. It's helped me put on more body fat, more mass. It's helped with more explosive exercising, like weightlifting. Yeah, I haven't really noticed any other benefit towards it. Like it tastes good. It makes the meals more enjoyable. So that's the other benefit, I would say.
For sure.
Grapefruit.
So holistic health, um, I would definitely consider it a lifestyle, but it is best to find a balance, um, in terms of how focused you are on that lifestyle. Like you don't want to become borderline orthorexic and become neurotic about it, but you want to be mindful about your intake of
Absolutely.
a lot of these modern factors today. So a holistic approach implies um, the diet, lifestyle, exercise, sleep, sunlight exposure, socialization, prayer and meditation. It all ties into your physical and mental health as a human being. There
Absolutely.
is no physical or mental health in isolation. Everything goes hand in hand. Um, there will be imbalance if you're not approaching it in a holistic way, like a lot of what Western medicine is focusing on. And their approach by targeting single organs or single factors within the body just creates more imbalance. The body is in everything within the body is interacting with itself. So you need to take that into account and target the relevant areas and the relevant interactions as well to be able to maintain that balance and that homeostasis within the body. And then for the higher consciousness, I believe that a lot of these modern poisons that have been very popularized today, the refined sugar, the caffeine, the alcohol, the drugs, many medications, a lot of the agricultural toxins, the xenoestrogens, plastics, heavy metals, all of these factors can suppress inherent human potential. Um, you can say it is intentional or not. That much doesn't really matter too much as long as you focus on eliminating these factors to the best of your ability and then replenishing the nutrition that everyone has just been so depleted from
Right.
modern stress, the depletion of the soil, and all the factors that I had just listed. Essentially, you return to a state that most people only felt during childhood, a state of energy throughout the entire day, a state of inner life, joy in every moment, emotional stability, not being so reactive to everything and everyone around you. People think that this is only reserved to childhood, but that is very incorrect. Their nutritional stores and their toxicity burden has burnt them out by adulthood. Their nutritional stores have been burnt out, and their body no longer has the necessary building blocks to work with. So when they replenish these, they begin to resolve the inflammation, the oxidative stress. That natural state, that natural flow state is restored. And in comparison to how people normally feel, it may feel superhuman, but it's how we're supposed to feel. It's how we're supposed to feel as human beings.
Absolutely, dude. I can't agree with you more about how it all plays together. The last 2 years for me, I've been trying to apply the idea of connecting. Whether it be doing a lot of grounding work, breath work, meditation,
Yes.
as you said,
Yes.
and it very much is all connected. I love that you said everything's running. Forget how you phrased it, but everything's running at the same time,
Yeah.
and we have to be aware of that. And that includes a lot of the negativity too. And I think a lot of people want to have this mindset of like trying to avoid negativity instead of kind of instead of allowing a space for it.
Yes, that is very major.
And when you do that, it relieves a lot of weight on the shoulders and kind of opens the door for the other positive energies to be welcome too. As you said, it's kind of it needs to all balance out. So yeah, absolutely. Starting to connect the dots. But with people like you and others, even on all the social platforms, I love it. I'm sure you do too. Like it's become like this, again, connecting world online, and surrounding ourselves with, having this custom outlook of who we want to surround ourselves with. It's really fascinating. And again, thank you so much for everything that you share and taking the time today to have this chat with me. Hoping we can connect again soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on. If you have any ideas for further shows, don't hesitate to reach out to me.
For sure, man. Thanks.